But if ever hindi i-allow yan, that would not reduce the fact na 16 pa rin ang requirement. So kung 13 na lang sila, manigas sila. Kasi kung 13 na lang kayo dyan nag-trial, parang ang tingin ng mga majority ng mga tao niyan, para na lang yung lesser pa ng, what you call this, ng Moro-Moro trial.
Siya daw ay nahuli na, papalipad na daw as we speak on the way to the Hague. Totoo ba to? May katotohanan ba dito?
What's up mga kababayan, page trending here. Dito sa video natin ngayon ay ating panoorin itong nagbabiral na balita na naaresto na di umano itong si Senator Bato at palipad na di umano sa The Hague sa Netherlands na kung saan ang kuta ng ICC. Naku naman po, kung gaano katotoo to ay ating mapapanood dito sa video na ito. Pero bago ang lahat mga kababayan, huwag niyo po sana kalimutang mag-like at subscribe para updated ka sa mga uploads ko araw-araw. At yun na nga no, mga kababayan, dagdag pa rito na binigyang diskusyon ni Atty. Torion itong nangyayaring impeachment nga ni VP Sara. Nasaan nga ba to patutungo? Kung kaya naman hindi ko na patatagalin pa, heto na ang buong video.
Kumusta po ang inyong office ni Atty. Jimmy Bondok? Nakasama din namin dito sa Bilyonaryo.
By the grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, medyo okay naman yung pag-take off namin. At yung happiness lang namin, nakakasweldo naman po kami sa aming mga empleyado.
Yun ang importante. Yun ang importante.
Nakakasweldo at meron ding pambili ng tuyo at saka bigas. Happy na kami doon.
Mas dagdag naman siguro ng konti.
Dagdag ng konti naman. Opo. Makakabili ng make-up para sa aming magagandang misis.
Pero tingin ko curious ang madaming tao. Kasi siyempre, kilala ng madaming tao yung mga medyo high-profile cases na hinahandle nyo. Pero ano pa yung ibang practice areas na inyong inaasikaso?
Well, in Davao and to some degree also here in Manila, litigation lawyer talaga ako. Litigation lawyer, so criminal cases, civil cases, may mga Maguindanao massacre, I also handled it. Yung mga more or less yung MOA AD na kaso, nung ibigay sana doon yung porsyon ng Mindanao. So, sa amin ngayon dito sa Manila, traditional na mga kaso po, mga criminal cases. Meron din kami estafa, meron din kami what you call this. Mamayang hapon magka-cross-examination ako.
Sabi ka nyo, meron kayong kaso.
Kasi tutulungan ko si General Pokis doon sa kaso niya na file against him no inciting to sedition.
Okay.
Supposedly may presentation of a witness this afternoon. So I was also studying a bit the criminal information as well as the accompanying affidavit complaints that are in the carpeta of the case so that I can also properly and intelligently cross-examine the witness.
Okay, siyempre. Pero ito, isa sa mga pinaka-high profile at sikat niyong kliyente, siyempre si Senator Bato de la Rosa. So, didiretsuhin ko na kayo, Atty. Bobet. Mula kagabi, kumakala sa social media, kung ano-anong chismis na siya daw ay nahuli na, papalipad na daw as we speak on the way to the Hague. Totoo ba to? May katotohanan ba dito?
Well, I hope and pray na hindi totoo.
Okay.
I can only say that simply because of the fact that my client did not call me.
Okay.
Siguro kung nangyari yun, na nadakip talaga siya, hanap ng paraan yan na
makatawag
sa akin. Siyempre, oo. So that we can also avail of proper legal remedies, no, para naman maprotektahan siya. So, at saka yung mga law enforcement personnel, sigurado ako, they will also call me to inform me kasi the accused, if we can properly characterize him as an accused, sa akin kasi hindi.
Wala yung pending na petition na yun ang
Supreme Court, no? Is entitled under Republic Act 7483 na entitled to counsel at any stage of the proceedings, even during arrest, prior to arrest, and while his case is processed by the appropriate court.
So, wala po kayong nakuha tawag since kagabi? So, kailan kayo huling nagkausap ni Senator Bato?
Nung May 11 ba yun? Yung mga 2 hours before he left the Senate halls. Nalaman ko, wala na pala talaga siya. Mga lunchtime na-confirm ko wala na pala talaga siya. Or yung nag-declare na si former Senate President or still former Senate President Cayetano na wala na siya doon.
So ito po, almost 3 months ago.
Yes. Wala na talaga kaming communication. I communicate through his staff, through members of his family. So kung nadakip siya, I'm very sure may mga maawa naman siguro sa atin ng mga law enforcement personnel at tatawagan ako. Wala namang tawag po. Okay.
At tingin ko kasi po, nagsimula nito yung post ng kanyang partner, si Atty. Jimmy Bondok, na meron daw bad news na padating.
Hindi, before that, meron na. Marami na masyado na mga...
Yung kay Atty. Jimmy, may idea ba kayo kung ano yung kanyang tinutukoy dito?
Kami, iba yung ginamin niya. Kaya tinake out niya na yun. Nagka-timing. So, tinake out na niya yung kanyang post. Kasi nga, it gave multifarious interpretations. And,
kasi yun ang tinuturo ng madami on social media kagabi.
In fairness to Jimmy, marami ng mga post even before that. May mga text messages na akong natatanggap. May tumawag pa na confirmed na nadakip siya. Ko, kung nadakip yun, tatawag yun kaagad sa akin. Pero wala eh. So relax lang ako. This is not the first time I'm handling cases like this. So minsan, I'm not saying na sinadya ito, scenarios like that are played out so that you would contact right away your client at saka mag-ping, wala na. Yung mga ganun, nalulocate na siya ng kaputsa. So, hindi natin gagawin yun. That happened also sa KOJC siege. Yung mga ganun na, nadakip na siya. Anong nadakip? Wala nga akong contact eh. They would assume kasi na yung lawyers may alam. Hindi nila alam na it is our policy not to know. Kasi it's better for you not to know. Kasi like, guys, if you're interviewed like highly intelligent guys like Attorney Barry, baka masabi mo yung totoo, patay ka. Di ba? So, yun talaga ang policy ko. Do not inform me so that I can perform my job properly.
Plausible deniability.
Yun. Wala akong alam. Kasi dapat din, ikaw, you have to protect yourself as a lawyer.
Tama, siyempre.
So, as a lawyer, ayoko rin ma-disbar, busing. Mga anak ko, buntis pa si misis ko, yun din, protektahan din natin.
Tama naman.
Yes.
Pero, are you at liberty to say kung ano yung tinutukoy ni Attorney Jimmy kung hindi pala yung kahapon? Kasi
iba na senaryo yon. Pero it's for him to kasi ang sabi lang kami, partner kami. Iba yung sinabi, iba yung minin ko, unga, pero iba ata ang interpretation mo. Pero in fairness to him, prior to that, ang dami na what you call this, dami nang tumawag sa akin. So yun po.
So, to be clear po, as of now, wala po kayong any confirmation na totoo itong nangyaring to?
I think it's not true. I'm praying to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that it is not true because it will really complicate things if it is true. Because if it is true, then our remedies would no longer be here. Although, of course, we can still technically argue that there are Supreme Court decisions which states that the court retains residual jurisdiction, etc. Or it can still act on the matter. Pero mahirap na kasi kung nandun na siya. How can we implement it? Enforcement would be the problem of whatever orders that may be issued by the Supreme Court. In the final analysis, it would be diplomacy. It would be, mga pakiusap na lang ang mangyayari sa amin. Unlike kung nandito pa siya, enforceable pa yung orders ng Supreme Court or other courts for that matter.
On that point po, Attorney Bobby, meron po kayong final doon po sa pagkaka-aresto kay dating Pangulong Duterte.
Yes.
Ano pong status ng kasong yun?
It's pending. It's pending
so,
now.
So, hindi pa siya dismissed?
Hindi siya dismissed. What was acted upon was our prayer for TRO when the other respondent, dalawa yung kliyente namin doon, si PRRD, si Tatay Digong, at saka si Senator Bato. Actually, ang petition na yun was designed for Senator Bato sana. Kasi yung umuugong nun, si Senator Bato talaga. Pero nandun sa Hong Kong na ako, I was requested to include PRRD at the last minute. So, nung dumating ako dito, I had to, yung opisina ko noon sa Davao pa I had to tweak the petition, change page 1 and page 2 as well as the last
Para nakaka-relate po ako sa mga ganyan.
Ang dami mong dadali doon. Tapos, ikakarga mo pa sa, what you call this, sa aeroplano. Magpapirma ka pa ng verification. Noon, nahirapan ako. Kasi hindi kami pinapasok doon sa airport, hindi kami pinapasok doon sa, wala ka ng time to change the petition. Have it, what you call this, photocopied, 18 copies at that. Ang kapal-kapal. Hindi naman po pwede na sasabihan mo yung Korte Suprema, 1 or 2 pages, 3 pages, si Dintor yun daw ako. Baka i-dismiss, nakakahiya. Kailangan maganda at saka meaty yung petition mo. Kaya yun ang nangyari.
So, ngayon, hinihintay po nyo doon the full ruling?
Yes, the full ruling of the Supreme Court. And I just received an order yesterday also requiring the Solicitor General to file a comment also to which will expire on August 10, which is malapit na. August 5 na ngayon.
August 10 is next Monday.
Yes.
So, kailangan nila mag-comment on something na nyo?
Yes. Kahapon ko lang nabasa.
Nag-request pa po kayo ng oral arguments para dito sa kasong ito?
That is actually discretionary on the part of the Supreme Court. With all honesty, I don't think they will order that kasi yung mga issues, wala namang factual Wala namang factual issues, wala namang everything is legal which they can decide right away. Yun po.
Okay. So, pero ano po ini-expect nyo doon?
I'm hoping that we will win.
Kasi if you do, ano yung magiging remedy considering that the former president is already in the custody ng ICC?
Well, there is still... itong
sige.
The Supreme Court, certiorari kasi yan, under the expanded concept under Article 8, Paragraph 1, which it can still order the executive department to do anything legal in order to enforce the order of the Supreme Court. Perhaps it can require the executive department to do all possible na ma-assert niya na, parang mag-file ng manifestation doon sa ICC na dapat pala, kasi hindi na kami miyembro ng Rome Statute, dapat pala hindi na kami nag-cooperate, so mag-manifest kami na baka pwede ipadala nyo dito sa amin balik. Yung mga ganun na manifest. Of course, it's not binding on the ICC kasi naka-acquire na sila ng jurisdiction eh. But we're hoping and praying na with the Trump pressure now, lahat baka mag-give in sila. Yun lang po. Nobody, only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can predict all things.
So, in the event po na ganun din na mangyari kay Senator Bato, ganun din yung aasahan nyo? Kumbaga.
Yes. Etong kay Senator Bato, mas marami pa kaming probability dito kasi nga, nandito pa siya sa Pilipinas. I would like to believe na nandito pa siya sa Pilipinas. Kasi last discussions namin, na nasabihan niya ako, former PNP chief yan, matalino yan. Mas mahirap daw kung aalis kasi may mga information merchants, may mga, what you call this, yun ang sinabi sa kanya.
I-disclose.
I-disclose. Ang term, information merchants, no?
Napaka-polite na term.
Oo nga. So, mas mahirap yun. Tsaka, yung other countries kasi, they also have higher intelligence mechanisms and systems by which they can actually track any and all visitors. And such can never be prevented to be transmitted here in the Philippines. So mas mataas ata ang kadelikado kung aalis ka sa bansa. Of course, exception yan. Former Senator, si Senator Lacson, nakaalis siya noon eh. Di ba? Nakaalis siya. Bumalik lang siya sa Pilipinas nung wala na siyang warrant. It's very convenient on his part during that time.
Pero, so, based on that conversation, as far as you know, and again, I don't want to put you on the spot.
Yes.
Since nag-usap kayo nung May 11, si Senator Bato has been in the Philippines. Hindi siya umaalis.
I think so. Yun, belief ko lang yan. Belief ko lang yan. Pero I cannot state with certainty that he is here. He is here. Yes, sir.
So, given na mukhang meron ng warrant nga, of course, na-serve na yung kay former President Duterte, at mukhang ito, active warrant against si Senator Bato issued by the ICC, may mga ibang pangalang mga napalutang na rin dyan eh. Di ba? Si former...
TESDA Secretary General, kaibigan ko rin. Yung may former
si
General
DOJ Secretary Aguirre, di ba? Si Senator Bongo. Meron ba kayong coordination with any of them? Have they expressed concerns na baka they have to go through the same thing?
Wala kaming coordination na nagbi-meeting kami, na nag-Zoom meeting kami. Wala eh.
Hindi, pero just to consult you, kasi obviously, alam na nyo yung process eh. You've already handled yung first two.
Honestly, kasi ako, bawal magsinungaling sa amin eh. Honestly, I may have talked to two of them several months ago as to probable remedies. I gave my own advice. I know they have their own lawyers. Pero after that, wala kaming communication na. Yung dalawa, nag-kausap kami sa telepono. Pero this was 4 months ago, 5 months ago. Yun po. As to coordination, wala.
Okay. Concern kayo ba personally, do you think na may lalabas pang mga warrants in the next few months?
Well, the processes of the ICCs are unique talaga.
Totoo naman.
Kaya nga eh.
And they don't actually announce publicly before yung actual service.
Blessing in disguise nga si Senator Trillanes eh. Kasi nung winawagayway na niya yung warrant, na-compel na yung ICC to reveal it. Di ba? So, blessing in disguise sa amin yun. Kasi, alam mo, pumunta pa ako sa ICC to find ways sana to confirm
The Hague.
4 months ago. Pero blessing in disguise, nabuntis ko yung misis ko dahil doon. Di ba? So, yung pagwagayway ni Senator Trillanes, saved me a lot of money in going to ICC to secure confirmation. Kasi may confirmation na ngayon. At least alam na namin ngayon. In the past, yung ICC spokesman, we do not have any warrant of arrest.
Dapat pala, di ba, i-treat niyo si Senator Trillanes?
Oo nga, dapat ito. Kung magkita kami ni Senator Trillanes talaga, sir, salamat talaga, sir. Kasi na-confirm mo na ang mahal-mahal pa naman ang ticket, uutang pa kami para makabayad punta doon. So, salamat talaga, sir. Treat tayo, sir, dito. Hindi naman kailangan mag-away kung nasa kabilang kampo kayo. You can always politely and intelligently agree to disagree. Ganun lang ako eh. Nakita kami ni Atty. Ibanez noon. Kasama kami niyan noon. Kasi kay Frank Chavez, akong ginagamit niya noon na lawyer doon sa Mindanao. Si Atty. Ibanez, di ba, rabid, talaga, anti-Duterte yan. Nagkita kami kahapon kasi may cross-examination nga ako sa Manila. Nagkita kami, paray, kumusta ka na? Kaibigan pa rin kami. And we always, that should be the spirit of Filipinos.
Actually, nag-agree ako sa inyo. Dapat talaga ganun.
Kasi may mga punto rin kayo na kailangan din namin i-consider so that we can come up with a better policy for the country.
Sana nga makabalik tayo sa panahon na posibleng mag-disagree without being disagreeable.
Yes. Yun ang pangarap ko sa Pilipinas. Kasi may mga
Paano kasi mga kababayan, ngayon sa administrasyon ni Bangag, walang kalayaan, no? Gusto nila sila lang ang masunod.
Bright ideas talaga si Attorney Barry na hindi ko rin nakikita. Kasi only a fool would believe that he is the mightiest and the brightest of them all, that you could not also pick good ideas from the other camp. And that's the beauty of democracy. It's the marketplace of ideas. And people like us should continually talk and continue to find ways as to how we can come up with a common stand for the betterment of our country. So yun sana ang ating mga, kumbinsin natin yung ating mga rabid followers to act like that. Kasi grabe na ang division ng ating country. Oo, kailangan maging kaibigan tayo, boss, para ipakita natin doon sa ating mga followers na pwede naman pala magka-agree maski nasa opposite camp tayo.
Dapat nag-uusap pa kayo.
Yun,
Importante.
yun. Boss, usap tayo.
Okay, on that score,
Yes, sir.
bukod sa mga ICC cases, you've also filed several cases before the Supreme Court
Yes.
tungkol naman sa impeachment.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Ano
sir.
po ang status nito mga ito?
Yung una, yung first impeachment complaint against kay VP Sara, pinagpala tayo ni Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, nanalo kami. Dito naman sa itong second impeachment complaint against him, which involved the third and fourth impeachment complaint against him, against her rather, the Sabalya as well as the Cabrera complaint, no, pending pa po.
Okay.
Pending pa yon, and there are sub-issues which arose, the latest of which involved my very good friend, former Senate President Chisa Escudero, yung kanyang pag-preside sa
yung
Senado.
kanyang designation as
yun,
presiding officer.
We honestly believe that there is a justiciable issue there that might taint the entire proceedings. So we also filed a urgent manifestation with motion, and yun, pina-require na ata ng Supreme Court to comment yung Solicitor General dahil dun.
But of course, any petition filed by before the Supreme Court relating to impeachment, even in the past, di ba, nagsimula sa Francisco versus House of Representatives,
Yes,
impeachment ni Chief Justice Davide, has always come up against the counter-argument na the Constitution vests the Senate and the House exclusive jurisdiction
Yes.
over these cases. So, anong inyong perspective on why the Supreme Court should be able to exercise their jurisdiction in these situations?
Well, expanded concept of
Judicial review.
Judicial review. Because even if we say that the Senate has the sole power under Article 11, Section 3.6 of the 1987 Constitution, that does not foreclose the fact that it only determines that the Senate is the court which tries impeachment cases.
Okay.
But as to whether or not it is exercised properly, it is exercised consensuously, it's still within the expanded jurisdiction of the Supreme Court. Because indeed, any agency or court granted power may have the tendency to overstep its boundaries.
So, ito yung grave abuse of discretion.
Yan. And the Supreme Court would be there to allocate the constitutional boundary to say, up. Medyo sobra ka na, ha? Sobra ka na doon sa counter. Iayos mo. Dito ka lang, po pwede. Yun ang theory ko na bakit nag-file ako, maski kaibigan kami ni Senator Cheese. Wala pong personalan
Hindi
yun.
naman dapat personalan yun. Talaga namang issue-based.
Kasi when we looked at the, yung records ng Constitutional Commission, nandun talaga na raise yung issue na yun. Sabi nila, purely textual grounds, hindi naman nakasabay doon. Pero ang sabi ko naman doon, it is necessarily implied therefrom that if the respondent is not the president, then necessarily it is the Senate President who should preside.
Pero paano mangyayari yun, Attorney Babet? Let's say that the Supreme Court grants your petition, at least on that score, yung sa presiding officer. Does that render yung last, 4 weeks, 5 weeks, invalid?
I would like to believe so. I would like to believe so. It
So paano
infects
mag-trial? Anong mangyayari?
Sa akin lang, no, this is treading on new grounds.
Exactly.
Treading on new grounds. Well, sa akin is any and all proceedings presided by the questionable presiding officer would be invalidated. It is as if, yung parang nangyayari ba na yung judge pala, wala palang authority, di ba, nagkakaroon ng mistrial talaga yun. Yung proceedings na yun. So, yun ang kinatatakutan ko. So, kung mag-trial naman lang kayo, ayusin ninyo. Nagpili kayo ng
Correct.
Senate President, hindi nyo pala i-impress na, ano pala siya dyan? Parang decoration? Huwag naman ganun. Insulto yung kay Senator Gatchalian. Pinili ninyo yan, then stand by your decision. Iiba ang ginawa nila eh. So, I had to file a petition in order to correct the matter. If you have to go to trial, we are questioning your proceedings simply because of the fact that it was not properly instituted by the Committee on Justice, which conducted a mini trial, which conducted proceedings, which we believe are beyond its jurisdiction anymore. But granting ex argumenti gratia that you do have the power to initiate trial, do it properly. Yun ang message ko po. So, but alam mo naman, hindi naman ako Supreme Court Justice. We are, imploring.
Hindi pa.
We are imploring the good justices na sana naman ma-actionan and ma-decide in our favor.
Okay. Obviously, pag pinag-usapan ng impeachment, sabi nga, ang paborito kong definition dyan kay the late Senator Miriam Santiago, quasi-judicial and quasi-political.
Yes,
Kasi may
yes.
political aspect talaga. So a lot of people over the last few weeks have been obsessing about yung numbers. At ang obvious na division, current majority 13, current minority na nag-attend 8. Do you think na actually yung 8 is enough to actually under the current voting setup is enough to acquit
Yes.
si VP Sara Duterte? Do you think na yung 8 na yon meron pang bibigay doon to actually possibly join the majority to form a sufficient quorum for conviction?
Alam ko may alam ka. And you want it confirmed by me, no? May mga ugong-ugong na mga ganyan. I have to be honest with you nga eh. May mga ugong, but I'm praying to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala na hindi mag-give in sana.
Okay.
No? I have to be honest also. Party din ako sa mga usapin na ganyan. Pero sana hindi maging totoo.
Okay.
But I am certain and I am very sure na yung 16 na requirement of all members of the Senate is a Bible from which...
It's absolute.
It's absolute. Kasi framers of the 1987 Constitution made it that high requirement because we are talking here of high officials who can only be removed via impeachment. It's a difficult process purposively designed in order for these high offices elected by, when it comes to VP Sara Duterte, 32 million people. And if you make the process very easy for her to be removed, you are actually spitting at the decision of 32 million people. So if you could not meet the high quantum of requirement, then manigas ka. Kasi 32 million yung boto sa kanya, hindi mo na-meet yung requirement, pasensyahan ka na. Ikaw nga, si Presidente Marcos, nag-file ng impeachment procedure, yung Committee on Justice, sabi, no sufficient form and substance. Sa tingin namin, may mga ultimate facts na doon, pwede na yun. Pero wala daw. May nagawa ba kami? Ang sa amin is, what is good for the gander should likewise be good for the goose. Hindi pumasa. Then we accepted it. Dito, kung hindi kayo mag-aabot ng 16, hindi manigas ka. Yun ang requirement. Huwag mo naman ipababa na yung ibang mga legal experts natin. Well, we should follow the US Supreme Court. Di tumira ka doon sa Amerika kung gusto mo. Iba yung sa atin eh. Strict yung requirement eh. Bakit mo kumbinsihin yung mga tao na pwede yung babae? That's intellectual dishonesty. Maski kaibigan ko siya, pare naman, ikaw naman. Magkaiba yung ating political stand. Ibahin mo yung framer sa yung intention ng 1987 ko. Huwag naman ganyan. Sobra na yan.
Pero paano yung practical consideration, Attorney Bobet? There are at least 5, I think, members of the current Senate minority who can possibly face cases before various bodies, ombudsman, etc. Kung mapapailan sila and they're charged with, let's say, non-bailable offenses, therefore, di sila makaka-attend ng Senate, paano yun? I mean, if it's no longer possible to get the 16 na 2/3 of 24, paano yung magiging process if so many are taken out?
Actually, it's an indictment against the present administration. Well, it's not only an indictment; it's a judgment already that they would go to the lowest extent just to crucify VP Sara Duterte, and it proves the strength of VP Sara Duterte that they should now wake up and realize na posibilidad talaga na maging presidente siya sa 2028. I would like to believe that these 5 strong men and women would face the music. And they will act like the great Senator Marcoleta and face the case. And anyway, they would be acquitted, I'm very sure. There may be information that will be filed against them. But if there is going to be a trial, and at least it would have the appearances of a fair trial, I'm very sure that they will be acquitted. And I'm sure also that these 5 senators would face the music. Just because they are no longer there in the Senate. No? Kasi in the past, there were resolutions allowing the imprisoned senators to participate in the Senate proceedings. It was passed during the time of Trillanes, although not so implemented. It was likewise passed during the time of Senator De Lima, but later on it was not implemented. But the fact is, there were resolutions in the past allowing that. I would like to believe na sana i-allow yan. But if ever hindi i-allow yan, that would not reduce the fact na 16 pa rin ang requirement. So kung 13 na lang sila, manigas sila. Kasi kung 13 na lang kayo dyan nag-trial, parang tingin ng mga majority ng mga tao niyan, para na lang yung lesser pa ng, what you call this, ng Moro trial.